Well, good evening, 'tis I, Lord Penderbury, and welcome to Evolution Sim Racing, your home on Friday nights for some low-quality sim league racing on your favourite streaming gaming service, iRacing. Can you tell I'm just winging it? I can. But yes, hello and welcome to the stream. Well, what have we got for you this evening? We've got something that we've never done before on Evolution Sim Racing, or at least not since I've been doing Evolution Sim Racing, and as far as my world's concerned, like, doesn't really matter before then, so it's never happened. But we are doing a multi-class race, so you will be familiar from previous streams and previous highlights videos that we do the AM category and the Pro category. Well, tonight we're chucking them in two different cars as part of the what series is it? Struggling to remember. SimLab series. So the pros are going to be in the Mustangs, and for the AM category they are going to be in the Toyota GR86s, which is obviously what we were in last week. So they should be well practiced in them, though last week wasn't the biggest turnout that we've had. In fact, it was the least number of participants we've had so far this season. But you'll recall it was a fantastic evening's racing. Had an excellent five-way battle for the win in the first race that ended in tears when Chris Hulse and somebody else came together. Who was it? Chris Hulse and Josh Levy, I believe it was. Josh Levy not able to race tonight as well, so despite how well he's been doing over the last few weeks, that could all come undone with, with him not attending tonight, especially as his two main competitors in the championship are Chris Hulse and Steve Everson, both of them racing tonight. Yes, we'll see how they get on. Right, let's. Well, I was going to say let's take a look at the standings, but first of all, let's take a look at why you should come and join us. Because if you do want to come and join us, you are going to be more than welcome. You can see just to the right-hand side of me, there's lots of reasons to join us. We are a friendly and easygoing community, and if that's not good enough for you, it's completely free of charge to enter and race in the league. We have championship races every Friday night. Session starts at 8 p.m. And the evening basically runs as 8 a.m. again, p.m. 25 minute practice session. We then have 10 minutes open qualifying, followed by a 25-minute sprint race. We then have about a 15-minute break before we then have a 45-minute feature race. That feature race involves a mandatory pit stop. Whether you take tyres is optional, but you will need to take fuel if you plan on getting to the end. So yeah, that is the schedule for Fridays. And even when we're not in a championship season, we do silly season. We have the Wheel of Misfortune. We'll spin that wheel to decide on a car. We'll then spin that wheel to decide on a course. I'm still got my fingers crossed that we're going to get GR86s at Daytona Rallycross, but we haven't done yet. That's probably not the most wacky combination I can think of, but off the top of my head, that was the best I got. So yes, anyway, let's take a look at the standings. Oh, I've forgotten which one. That's the screen I want. There we go. So you can see there, Jeff Sharp leading the way. He's got a nice, healthy 37-point lead on Will Thomas. Jamie Nicholson's only 3 points back from Will Thomas in third place. Josh Levy is in the AM category, but look at him in the overall standings. Fourth overall, he's on 86 points. Dan Slattery, he's then in 5th place with Ricky Worrell in 6th. Chris Hulse is then in 7th. James Hello in 8th. Steve Everson in 9th. And I am somehow in 10th. I've only raced one Friday night so far before I then switched to the streaming side of things. But yeah, I am occupying 10th position. Now, taking a look at the pro standings then, Jeff Sharp also leading the way there. He's got a 30-point lead in pro, with Jamie Nicholson 30 points back in second. Will Thomas, he's then in third place with James Hello in fourth. Dan Slattery is in fifth. Ricky Warren in sixth. Myself in seventh. Nelson Verdier in eighth. Mark Audley in ninth. Martin Ruby in 10th. And Stephen Lacotta in 11th. And let's take a look at things in the AM standings. Josh Levy leading the way, but just by 4 points. Is he going to regret not taking part tonight? I mean, he doesn't really have much choice. He's at a gig, but priorities, Josh. You got to get these things in order. Whenever I see a gig on a Friday night, I've got 2 kids. I'm not going to a gig again for a long time, and when I do, it's going to be for a band that's very past it by the time I'm able to venture outside the house again. Apologies if you can hear some howling in the background. The cat is alive and has been fed, but for some reason he is acting like he hasn't been. But yes, Chris Hulse, he'll be looking to capitalise, as will Steve Everson on 143 points. That is only 9 points, covering the top 3 in the AM category. Very exciting stuff. And then Anthony Marriott in fourth. Paul Nicholson is in fifth. Axel Edwards is in sixth. Chris Palmer's in seventh. Brian Dodd just 2 points back in eighth. Just 1 point behind him is Josh Morris in ninth. So very tight for seventh place. Really sixth place, because Axel Edwards only 11 points ahead of them. But then it's Travis Dorado in 10th. I mean, it's quite the thing to have walked in on. The cat is simply acting like I mean, the howl that he emitted, he frankly sounded pained and like he could be in a situation where he's just not long for this world. But he is. He's been fed this evening. He is just a greedy bastard. If you ever came across Six Dinner Sid in school, then yeah, just think that's the kind of cat we've got. And good news, Borussia Dortmund have just scored. Because I'm that committed to this stream, I have got football on just to the side of me. But yeah, they are the overall standings. Let's go and take a look and see what's happening on track then. I think just for continuity's sake, let's jump back over here before we then... I need to find iRacing. There it is. And let's slap that on the screen. Seems to... no, actually, you know what? I think I need to move... I need to move me somewhere. Let's chuck me over there. Oh, looks like chaos is occurring on track. That would suggest we are nearly at the point of being live. Why is the... Let me just stop the background music. I thought it automatically stopped, but apparently not. It's still slithering away in the background. Right, where is the old... Right, let's seek back to live. And I imagine we are about to go into qualifying. What wonderful timing. Indeed we are. So, here we are, round 9 at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You can see the track map there. It is slithery. But yeah, track temperature of 32 degrees. That has rocketed up, I think, because the guys were saying that it was a very chilly track temperature, but 32 is not that chilly. So, clearly warming up in this morning session. Now, let's get rid of that, and we will bring up our qualifying display. Obviously, no times set at this point as they go out on track. We'll also bring up the track map in the top right-hand corner. Oh, Axel Edwards has apparently been off the track. Let's go and have a look and see what happened there. Oh, there's a lot of dust and things, so it may have been an exciting one. Yep. Oh, the back just starts getting away from him, and he backs into the gravel trap. Covers well, though. Not the traditional way of warming your tyres up before your qualifying lap. I tell you what, look at that on the screen. They are well bunched together in the on the track map. Now, just a reminder here, we have two different classes of okay, let's do that and then that. So yeah, we do have two different classes. If you weren't here at the start of the video when I was explaining this, start of the stream when I was explaining this, we have the AM category in the Toyota GR86s, and we have the Pro category. They are racing in the Mustangs, so we are alongside the is it Sim Hub, the series, the official series in iRacing. So we're using that as our go-to, and you can see across the bottom there, Ricky Worrell early doors setting a purple first sector. Though where is Ricky Worrell on track? He is the first person, so it does make sense that he is going purple in the first sector because nobody else has completed it yet. He could drag himself around on his stomach and still be fastest. But he's gone yellow in the second sector, which isn't so good there from good old Ricky Worrell. Ooh, bit of side-by-side action here from these two. This is Josh Morris and Chris Palmer getting a little bit close on track. Ricky Worrell does go purple in the third sector, though. Jeff Sharp's got the purple sector for the second sector. Not sure who's gone fastest now in the third sector, but it's been taken away from Worrell. Now you will start to see their names appearing in the top left-hand corner of the screen as they get their first laps completed. Oh, that's Morris going wide. Off track. Oh, and there's contact. That's no good with Josh Morris and Chris Palmer, I believe it was. And you can see there, both of them recovering. It might have been Travis Dorado, actually. And they are together. They'll have a look at that. And, wow, yeah, that's, you can see that's where he goes off track. We'll have a little bit, I'll look a little bit further back to see what happened. Yeah, Morris just goes a little bit out wide, gets on the grass, and then slithers round, and that causes chaos. Travis, the innocent party there, gets taken out. Well, why have we not got the timing tower? That's because I'm not showing the timing tower, that's probably why. So, leading the way then is Jamie Nicholson. He's a low 138, and he is a good 0.4 of a second ahead of everybody else at this point. So good going from Jamie Nicholson in the Bluey livery. As somebody with two very young kids, I'm well aware of what Bluey is. Fucking boring, in a word. It's not a word, that's in two words. Ricky Worrell, though, purple in the first two sectors. Let's go and see. No, the middle two sectors. Just about to complete his lap. Where does that put him? That puts him top of the pile, and he goes almost a full second quicker than Jamie Nicholson, suggesting that the track is ramping up once you get the tyres up to temperature. Jamie Nicholson's gone purple in the last sector and set greens all the way throughout, and is just under a tenth of a second behind Worrell. In terms of the AM category, Paul Nicholson's leading the way. He's about quarter of a second ahead of Steve Everson, who has Brian Dodd behind him, and Axel Edwards is just behind him by 0.07 of a second. That's very tight. Chris Hulse joins the party, but he's 1.9 seconds off. He's someone that you'd expect to be right up there. But at this point, he's not. Dorado shifts up a position, 10th overall and 5th in class. Paul Nicholson has gone off track. Let's have a look and see what happened to him. And just takes a little bit too much speed through there. So, who's going quick? Jamie Nicholson has set a purple third sector. He's gone green in his first sector, but had a poor second sector. So, let's see how that goes for him. You can see him just in the background there, about to cross the line. Jeff Sharp, oh, tell 0.003 of a second separating Jeff Sharp and Jamie Nicholson, or it was, but Jamie Nicholson now goes pole position. Very close there, just taking a look, and you can see in the top left we have just under 3 minutes to go. There's a lot of smoke there. That's somebody going off the track. I think it's Brian Dodd. And I can see what happened, and it was looking like a nice four-wheel drift, but ends up in him going to the infield. And it looks like we could be at the point now where tyres are starting to go off a bit. Nobody setting fast sectors. But at this point, you could go in. Well, I say nobody setting fast sectors. Jeff Sharp's gone purple in the third sector, but the first two are nothing to write home about. So he's going to have to pull something out the bag in this final sector. Here he is. Back to the more traditional colours for Team 19 Racing this week. On board with Sharp as he drives towards the line. No improvement there. And we could be at the point now where the best times have been set. Martin Rigby, though, he is setting green times all over the place. Where are you, Martin Rigby? Let me find you. Here you are. Coming around the final turn now, a little bit wide. That may cost him a little bit of time there. It also may not. I've not done any kind of practicing this week myself. So, yep, he's not done too badly there. Gets the time in. He hadn't set a time. We've got 14 drivers out on track. 6 in the pro category and 8 in the AM category. I have to agree with you. 5 people, well, 6 people chose to drive. The problem is they didn't choose to drive it. For the first time, we are doing the a multi-class race here at Evolution Sim Racing, and it was decided by the powers that be that the Mustangs and the Toyota GR86s would be the 2 cars on offer, and yeah, Mustangs for the pro category, GR86s for the AM category. So yeah, there's 6 nut jobs in Mustangs, but really it was the fault of 3 people in deciding the schedule, and let me tell you, I was one of them. Actually, it was four of us that decided on the schedule, so blame us. But doesn't look like anything is happening elsewhere. Chris Hulse has gone purple in the first sector, green in the second sector. Third sector isn't looking so good, though. He is leading the way, though, in AM category, though. You can see him in 7th overall, but that is pole position for the AMs. Steve Everson is now out of the car, as are Palmer, Dodd, Edwards and Morris. Paul Nicholson in 3rd place. He was the early front runner in the AM category. That is a completely fair decision to make. I made a similar decision. Obviously, because I'm sat here and not there. But, yes, there we go. I think not everybody's finished their laps. Ricky Worrell is still on 1, as is Dan Slattery, but neither of them going particularly quickly. So maybe choosing the end of this lap just for some last-minute practice. Let's go and have a look at them. I say let's go and have a look at them, but none of them are on track, so I don't know why they're still showing in the timing tower. Where are you, Dan? Let's see if I can get on board with you. I am on board with you. That's not the ideal camera, though. Ooh, nice Castrol livery. That takes me back to the arcades back in the day. What was it? I can't remember what it was called. The rally driving game that was seemingly in every arcade. I used to love that game. Across the line, Slattery goes. And that is the end of qualifying. Jamie Nicholson takes pole for the Pro category. Chris Hulse takes pole for the AM category. 14 cars going to be on track. And you can see there, lap times only differ by about 2.4 seconds. So not expecting there to be any crazy catching up of the Mustangs to the GR86s, which is a shame. But it would have been fun to see that all panning out. But let's take a look at the grid then. And leading the way, Jamie Nicholson in pole position. It was only 14 thousandths of a second back to Ricky Worrell in second place. Jeff Sharp wasn't that far back either in third place. Dan Slattery was then in fourth. He, I'd suggest, has not done too much practice this week, being 7/10 of a second further back. James Hurlow is then 9/10 of a second back in fifth, with Martin Rigby rounding out the Pro category in sixth. He was 1.5 seconds off of Jamie Nicholson's time. Then moving on to the Pro category, the AM category, Chris Hulse is in first place with Steve Everson alongside him. Let's think back, these two are in competition with each other for the overall title, and as said earlier, Josh Levy not racing tonight, so these two could steal a bit of a lead on Josh Levy. We then have Paul Nicholson in third place. Great qualifying from him with Travis Dorado alongside in 10th. He obviously got into strife with Josh Morris early in that qualifying session. Chris Palmer's in 11th with Brian Dodd in 12th. Axel Edwards in 13th and Josh Morris in 14th. Now they pull away. Someone in setting up the session has managed to... well, they set up as a full pace lap. May have been the only option. Is Axel Edwards out there? Axel Edwards is not out there. He is in the pit lane. I'm unsure why that's the case. Accident or design, who knows? Oh, we've got a little bit of time as they go around now. Usual etiquette. I think it's etiquette rather than the actual rule. Do inform me if you know, but we should start to see the Toyota GR86s dropping off the back of the Mustangs, and they are doing already, leaving a little bit of a gap there, as tends to be the case with the rolling starts in multi-class races. Oh, just realised I haven't kept you guys appraised of the beverages for this evening, which for some reason is a feature that I've decided that needs to exist on this stream. It really doesn't, but we're back on. Was I on this last? I think I was on this. I'm always on the Guinness 0% because, well, yeah, I know how to live my life. But yeah, we're on Guinness 0%. But for the little bit of It really is a test of my ability to fill time, and I'm talking about drinks, so you can decide how good or bad that is. But the drink that is adding a bit of pizzazz to the evening, and probably a little bit of slur as it progresses, is this. It is a Penderyn sherry cask whiskey, single malt, a Welsh whiskey. very nice indeed. Of the sherry cask whiskies that I have tried, I'd say it's in second place. First place is held by the Macallans. An absolutely splendid whiskey they are, but Penderyn not too far behind. In fact, I've spoken about it so much there, I'm going to have a sip. Oh, fuck me, that's good. Oh, and you know what else is good? Is I think we're not there yet. I've still got a little bit more time. Let's focus on no, actually, let's not do that. Let's get my ducks in a row ready for the start. And the 6 pro category members getting ready to go. And you can hear them go.
Green, green, green.
Jamie Nicholson covering off towards the inside. Ricky Worrell just behind him. You can see in the background the GR86s are also on the way. Axel Edwards will be coming out of the pit lane behind this lot in the not too distant future. Oh, there's contact between Slattery and Sharp. Sharp got a hefty bit of damage on that front left. Slattery got a hefty bit of delay, and it looks like there's some shit going down in the background as well. I saw puffs of smoke involving Josh Morris and Paul Nicholson. Now the question is that damage going to cause any issues? Looks like we're all neat and tidy in the GRA6s, so we'll keep looking at this. Are they going to be 3 wide? Ooh! Sharp chopping off the nose of the number 2 car of Martin Rigby there. Almost getting into more strife. Let's bring up some race information for you. And after that contact with Dan Slattery, let's take a look at the old Helmet of the Week contender, Jeff Sharp here. And, oh, look at that. A feathery affair. How are things going out the front then? And Ricky Worrell all over the back of Jamie Nicholson. Looking very close indeed. Closest battle on track as we close out this opening lap. Steve Everson and Chris Hulse battling away for the overall championship lead here. And the race lead as well. Oh, that is Dan Slattery in the background. What's happened to him? He's now fallen down into the GR86s. I saw some smoke, so he may have spun it coming out of that final corner. So go back to the front and see what's going on here. Let's turn off the driver information, because that's going to get a bit annoying if it keeps on flying up. Ooh, cutting that corner very finely there is Ricky Worrell. For some reason in the number 4 car when he should be the number 22 car. That is confusing because Travis Dorado's in the number 22 car, so I'm not sure what's happened there. Right, this gives us the opportunity, just whilst it's settled down a little bit, to go and have a look and see what those first lap incidents were. Now, this is the one between Josh Morris and Paul Nicholson. They were hard on the brakes. And, oh, well, there's actually contact a little bit before then. We'll take a look at Paul Nicholson and see what happened there from his side of things. Basically exactly the same replay. But just looking a little bit further ahead, and, well, he just gets too much on the curb. Chris Palmer gets into him slightly, but he was already going round. So that's what happened there. We then also had Josh Morris a little bit later on showing up as having an accident. Through the infield section, and yeah, just loses that rear end, slides round, off the track he goes. And then we obviously saw the tail end of it. This was Dan Slattery getting into trouble at the end of that first lap. And yeah, that rear end just slides round, keeps it out of the barriers. But Yeah, that won't do his progress any good. And Dan Slattery has entered the pit lanes. The pit lanes? The pit lane as well. Oh, looks like Brian Dodd has made a move on Chris Palmer. We will get back to live eventually. Oh, that's why, because Chris Palmer has spun round. Axel Edwards has made a move on Paul Nicholson, though this can't be it, unless Paul Nicholson was in the pit lane. Not sure what's gone on there. Oh well, let's go back to live, see what's occurring. And the battle still rages on between Jamie Nicholson and Ricky Worrell. It is also looking very close between Chris Hulse and Steve Everson. Oh, and it's just come up on the timing tower that Axel Edwards has had an accident. Coming down that long back straight, just gets onto the grass, sends him round. Keeps out the barriers though, he'll be able to carry on, no problem at all. Lets Dan Slattery come through after he comes out the pits. So the two key battles then, there is one, oh hello, I'll stop whittering on. Oh, it looked like Steve Everson was going to have the run on him, but not a great place to try and get your passing done through that little chicane. Only really one line through there if you want to maintain pace, and you can see how far he's dropped off. He's nearly a second back from Chris Hulse. That may give Chris Hulse the opportunity, if he can be quick through this section, it may give him the opportunity to get away, but looking at the timing tower, Everson has managed to claw back some time there, so I don't think he's going to be scampering away at this point. Now let's go and have a look at the front, back in the pro category, and Jeff Sharp. Oh, we haven't actually, we haven't seen that one yet. Let's go and have a look and see if I can find that. Where did it happen? It happened down at the first corner, didn't it? Let's see if this shows us what we want to see. So Jeff Sharp's on the inside and Slattery at fault there. He just... the rear end comes round and Sharp couldn't avoid him. Ooh, and is that Jamie Nicholson going a little bit defensive as they come through this first section? Sharp just showing his nose to the inside there. Oh, I'll tell you what, Ricky Worrell's got past. Oh, I am still finger on the pulse here at Evolution Sim Racing. But that is Ricky Worrell. He has taken the lead. Let me see if I can find where that happened. We'll also quickly take a look at Jeff Sharp getting past James Hurlow. Oh, we did see this live. That was where he threaded the needle, and Hurlow actually went really far out wide there, allowing Martin Rigby through as well. Let's have a look. Where did Ricky Worrell pass Jamie Nicholson? Here it is. Coming around as they go back up onto the oval section of the track before the final complex. Sticks it out round the outside, and Nicholson does manage to get the door closed. And then what happens? So Worrell has got an absolutely cracking line. Talk about saying a word for no reason, but he's got a cracking run. That's the word I'm looking for. Well, it wasn't there that he made the pass. Was it going down here? Well, Jamie Nicholson ran out very wide. But you don't get an off track for that. But Ricky Worrell is all over the back of him. Okay, let's try this. Oh, it must have been a lap later. Then Jamie Nicholson a little bit wide into turn 1, and then up the inside of turn 3, Ricky Worrell goes. And whilst all of this has happened, Chris Palmer got past Brian Dodd. You can see there Brian Dodd is off the track below you. May have got a slowdown for that, but going off up onto the main straight, Chris Palmer had far more momentum. Let's go back to live. Oh, and have we got another Axel Edwards crash? It looks like we may have, may well have got one. So we're watching more replays than live at this point. And not really a crash, just gets the braking point a little. It becomes a little bit more of a crash. Stops, resets, and then off he goes. Oh, stops again. What's going on here? Does he go back to the pits? Apparently back not. Oh no, he does. He does eventually jump to the pits, according to the timing tower. That is. But we are back live again. Ricky Worrell has opened up just over a second lead, or 1.2 seconds to Jamie Nicholson. Jeff Sharp just half a second behind him, but let's go and have a look at the AM category between Chris Hulse and Steve Everson. Here they are coming down the back straight. We'll also open up the old track map. And you can see it's a very spread out field at the moment. Obviously, that is aided by the fact that we are running two different classes of car, and whilst they are very similar in pace, the Mustangs are about 2.5 seconds quicker than the GR86s over the course of a lap, so they will naturally escape them. Everson taking a look up the inside slightly there. He's not quite close enough to really be doing anything about it. Josh Morris has had an adventure. And yeah, you can see there, turned in a little bit too suddenly. Sends the rear of the car around. Does well to get himself out of the way though. Well done there, Josh. Gets out of the way of the oncoming Dan Slattery, who has obviously been having his troubles this race as well. And this AM battle is close. You do wonder, is Steve Everson just biding his time at the moment? The closer one just about is this one between Jamie Nicholson and Jeff Sharp. That gap to Ricky Worrell is holding at around 1.2, 1.3 seconds. But Jeff Sharp will be well aware, if he wants a chance of winning this one, he'll need to get past Jamie Nicholson in the not too distant future. We are about half race distance at this point, just over. Which means it's a good opportunity to take a look at the winners and losers from that from the first half of the race. And no major winners or losers. Well, I mean, there's no major winners there. Ricky Worrell obviously is up a position whilst Jamie Nicholson's lost one. Jeff Sharp recovered from that contact. Oh, excuse me. That contact with Dan Slattery to be in his starting grid position. But then we've got Hurlo, Rigby, Hulse and Everson all gaining a position. That would have been from Dan Slattery's demise. And yeah, not Travis Dorado and Chris Palmer and Brian Dodd all up a couple of positions as well. Really, the big loser is Dan Slattery, down into 11th as it stands. But he will be in 6th place in class. Or 5th. Oh, right, yeah. I was like, why am I only counting 5 pro categories? And that's because we're focusing on Jeff Sharp. And in the timing tower, if you are focusing on a driver, they are highlighted in green just to the left of their name. Also, how Paul Nicholson has been in strife as well. But yeah, let's get rid of that for the moment. Now, last week, if you were watching, you may recall I was getting very excited and animated about... oh, who is that going off track? Paul Nicholson. He's returned to the track now. Have a quick look and see what happened there. Into the final complex here at Indianapolis, and yeah, just takes a little bit too much speed around that corner, and the rear end starts getting away from him. Here is Chris Hulse and Steve Everson. Inseparable, both in the championship and on track in this one. Real shame that Josh Levy is not racing tonight, because you do feel like it could have been a very good three-way battle between them. See that Axel Edwards has retired. We obviously saw him have that incident down at turn 1. And he jumped back to the pits after that, and he hasn't come back out, and he is out of the car. Trying to work out after the stream last week whether this livery that Chris Hulse is running, whether it's supposed to be a homage to the Supra from the first Fast and the Furious film. Looks like a similar base orange, and I know the design probably not exactly the same, but a similar design that was blue on the Fast and Furious car. Chris Palmer's been off track. Let's go and have a look at that. And, ooh, takes a little bit too much of the curb on the inside for the right-hander, but it's the left-hander where it all goes wrong. Around he goes. Like a teddy bear, a one-step, a two-step. It's slippery over there. And you can see that Brian Dodd got past him. And that is for position. And that does give us another battle, because Chris Palmer is just 0.4 of a second off the back of him. He's closing in as they go down the main straight. Now, will Dodd defend into the first corner? He is going defensive. But not... Oh, that looks like a nice little move from Chris Palmer. Switches all the way to the inside. Made him think... Or made Dodd think he was going around the outside. That was a tidy little move there from Chris Palmer. Let's... take another look at that one. Just up the inside, and Dodd leaves him plenty of room. Looks like Josh Morris has had a smattering of off tracks in quick succession. That may have been an off track there. That is definitely an off track there, though. Oh, and yeah, there you go. All the way around he goes. Oh, and Chris Palmer has apparently crashed. We are going to go to that as soon as I can find an appropriate camera to view that replay on. Let's take a look. So he's ahead of Brian Dodd now. We just saw that move, and in the same area as his earlier incident. Around he goes. Oh, and there's contact with Brian Dodd. That is a shame. Both of them still mobile, but both of them taking a huge amount of damage there. Let's take a look at it from Brian Dodd's perspective. On the inside, and just can't get out of the way. Gets plenty of air there. And, well, yeah, you can see there, both of them having to go into the pit lane for some repairs. Now, taking... Oh, hello, that's somebody else going around there. Josh Morris takes a spin. So this is the battle for second place in the... I'm struggling ever so slightly because I gulped the whiskey then, having been used to drinking the Guinness, of which you obviously can gulp far more comfortably than you can gulp a Guinness. Oh, and hello, Steve Everson has got past Chris Hulse, and Chris Hulse is 1.5 seconds back. I dare say Chris Hulse may have had a little incident on board with Steve Everson, and Hulse, oh, he just gets a little bit too deep, loses it, catches it again. Right, that is unfortunate stuff for Chris Hulse. Fortunate stuff, though, for Steve Everson, who is now only 1.2 seconds ahead, so Chris Hulse already looking to close that gap back down, but we have only got 3 or 4 laps of this one to go. Can he close it down and get back past? Here is the battle between Jamie Nicholson and Jeff Sharp that we were looking at before we then crossed over to that battle in the AM category. And you can just see Jeff Sharp starting to get a little bit more on the bumper of Jamie Nicholson. It does feel like he has got the pace to get past Nicholson. Nicholson was obviously the pace setter in qualifying. And Jeff Sharp looking to the inside. They're both hard onto the brakes. And Nicholson not wanting to give him any room at all. Little bit of rubbing as they go through this complex. Side by side all the way. Lovely driving, guys. Jeff Sharp looks to hang it around the outside, but it's not going to be the optimal position to be in as they go around the long right-hander. Jamie Nicholson, is he going to stay defensive? He's not, and Jeff Sharp dives to the inside. Jamie Nicholson leaves him room. A little bit of squirreling as he gets back on the power. Lovely racing from these two. Chris Hulse now just under a second behind Steve Everson. Still got some work to do to try and close that gap down. Decides to bide his time a little bit there, does Jeff Sharp. And it looks like Brian Dodd. I'll take a look at this, boss. Those guys go onto the straight. Well, that's not a cracking view. Oh yeah, Brian Dodd has got past Josh Morris, but Josh Morris was in the pits for that. Jeff Sharp holding station. Oh, hello. There's stuff going on between. What's happened here then? Everson, I imagine, has made a mistake because Hulse was not that close behind him. But Hulse has got through. So what's happened there? Let's have a quick look and see. Down to turn 1 they went, and Chris Hulse went all the way around the outside. Lovely little move there, Mr. Hulse. This battle is going to keep on raging on, and they will be on the last lap now. So Jeff Sharp and Steve Everson have got to make their moves now. There's no other close battles on track. Ricky Worrell has checked out. He's now 6.3 seconds ahead of these two. Jeff Sharp keeps it on the inside line. Is he going to be able to brake late enough? He has braked late enough to get alongside. Guy was maximum on the brakes there. Just got himself ahead, and he can get across. Oh, is he sliding a little bit out of the corner? He is a bit, but he looks like he's got it done. Already half a second ahead of Jamie Nicholson. Had to get it done on this lap. Let's go and have a look at Chris Hulse and Steve Everson, because they are all over each other. Chris Hulse going defensive. Now, what is Steve Everson going to do here? Is he going to try and hang it around the outside? He does. And he's done very well. And Everson manages... Oh, but he's gone deep. He got the job done. You could see Hulse lining up to get the switch back, but he didn't really need it in the end, because Steve Everson runs a little bit far wide. And I tell you what, an absolutely cracking battle between these two all race long. As said multiple times at this point, but these two... Oh, Chris... Oh, they're both out wide in that... second to last corner. Doesn't impact the result, but that is class win for Chris Hulse. As I was saying before I cut myself off, they are battling each other in the overall championship. Bad news for Josh Levy. He was hoping they weren't going to do well tonight, rather unsportingly from him really, but didn't want them to do well tonight. And they've done the opposite of that. They've got first and second, so that is going to put them, or put Josh Levy a little bit further off the pace. Now, Travis Dorado has just crossed the line, so everybody has now crossed the line. Josh Morris, Paul Nicholson, and Axel Edwards all retiring. So let's take a look at those results then. Well, Ricky Worrell takes the overall win, as he is obviously going to, because different classes of car, but he takes the overall win, but he takes the pro standings win there. Jeff Sharp, that move on the last lap, it was always coming. It was just hunting Jamie Nicholson over the final few laps of the race. Managed to get it done with about a third of the lap to go, so well done to Jeff Sharp there for second. Jamie Nicholson then came home in third place, but he will get those bonus 4 points for qualifying on pole position. We then have James Hurlow in fourth. It was a bit of a quiet race for James once Jeff Sharp had got past him in a little bit of no man's land, and as was Martin Rigby in fifth place. 10 seconds separated the two of them, and we obviously saw the strife that Dan Slattery was getting into. He finishes sixth in class and just over a minute behind Ricky Worrell there. As for the AM category, we saw that race-long battle between Chris Hulse and Steve Everson coming all the way down to the last lap. Unfortunately for Steve Everson, just getting a little bit deep into one of the corners. I can't remember the name of it, or even if it has a name. But he got a little bit deep. Chris Hulse had held back so he could get a slingshot out of the corner. He retook the lead, and with that came the victory just a few seconds later. Steve Everson did hold on to that second place, though. They were a hefty chunk of time, nearly 30 seconds between them and Travis Dorado, who was on the third step of the podium for AM category. Then had Brian Dodd in fourth, with Chris Palmer in fifth. Josh Morris then finished 2 laps down. He was in a position sixth overall, with Paul Nicholson in seventh and Axel Edwards in eighth, finishing 11 laps down. Well, let us leave. No, not let us leave. Let's hide that and take a look at some of those key talking points throughout that race. So where was? Oh, I'm losing the. Where is? Yeah, I know that's. Where's the green flag? Oh right, yeah, because we're all side by side. There we go. There's a. Just to give you an idea, the event logger that I'm tracking when there is a rolling start, because obviously everyone is like naturally overtaking each other because you're all driving around side by side. In all of the events logged for that 25-minute race, I've had to scroll down halfway through that event logger to get to the green flag. So a lot of overtakes there that shouldn't really have been logged. There might be a way of actually customizing it, but here is the green flag. They were all flying down to that first corner, as you do tend to do in a race. See there, Ricky Worrell was already looking towards the inside, and then taking a look back at these guys in the GR86s. Paul Nicholson going around, causing a little bit of chaos. Within that, we obviously saw Jeff Sharp also getting into a little bit of trouble with Dan Slattery. Take a look at it from the blimp view, and Slattery just slides round whilst getting his power into the side of Jeff Sharp. And then take a look at Paul Nicholson. He goes round, and unfortunately that was the first of a few incidents for both Paul Nicholson and Josh Morris. We then had Josh Morris. Oh, hang on, that was that one. Let's have a look and see what happened to Dan Slattery. Was this it? I'm not sure. Oh no, that was just Dan Slattery going off track. We had Josh Morris having an accident here. Less of an accident, more of a spin. But that rear end just getting away from him. Cold tyres on the first lap. Then had Dan Slattery having similar issues coming out of the last corner on the first lap. That rear end getting away from him as well. Then had Axel Edwards having an accident or a spin. You stop calling them accidents. Goes up on 2 wheels, unbalances the car, and as it comes back down, that just causes that the loaded wheel to shuffle, lose traction, and around he goes. There's some early action between Ricky Worrell and Jamie Nicholson. Ricky Worrell looking to go all the way around the outside as they come into that final complex. Couldn't quite get it done though. We also missed this one during the live stream. And is James Hurlow passing Martin Rigby down into the first corner. Gets the job done nicely. Martin Rigby attempting to take a much different line there to keep that momentum up, to try and switch back to get underneath James, but couldn't quite get it done. asking the car to do stuff that it wasn't wanting to do. It was squirming about all over the place. And had Brian Dodd passing Chris Hulse. What was Chris Hulse doing? Well, Chris Hulse was off the track at this point because you can see him there spinning around like a record baby. Round, round, right round. Axel Edwards getting into strife again. I think this may have been the last time before... No, it wasn't the last time before he went in, but you can see there. Slippy times. Gets the wheels on the grass. Unlike the wheels on the bus, he goes round and round. This may well... Yeah, this was the last one, unfortunately. Just a little bit too much speed. Gets back on the track, but then... Yeah, the car's all over the show. And that was Paul Nicholson getting past him. What else was occurring? Martin Rigby getting into strife here. And manages to stop the spin, but slows down a lot to do it, and that's why that gap opened up between him and James Hurlow. We then have Chris Palmer and Brian Dodd's unfortunate coming together. Chris Palmer had recently got past Brian Dodd, but got a bit wide through there, and Brian Dodd had nowhere to go, tried to pull to the right. Both of them having to pit after that one. Big hit, lots of damage, fast repairs required. And then one of the big battles throughout, particularly the second half of this race. Jeff Sharp and Jamie Nicholson. Jeff Sharp going up the inside, as bumping and bashing as they go through their proper touring cars type racing. Really lovely bit of racing from these two. Jeff Sharp tried to go all the way around the outside here, but it's always going to be a losing battle when you have this second right-hander up onto the oval section of the track. Only briefly as you come back infield here, and Sharp dove to the inside, forced Nicholson out wide, but couldn't quite get it done at this stage. Good attempt. Meanwhile, whilst all that was going on, Steve Everson and Chris Hulse were together, and that was Chris Hulse going out wide, almost spins it, does well to not, but that allows Steve Everson through into the lead. And then a short while later, Steve Everson, we didn't actually see what happened to Steve Everson. Must have had some issues coming out of that final turn, and that enabled Chris Hulse to pull off this excellent move all the way around the outside of turn 1. Gets the door closed before turn 3. And we're going to see that replay again for reasons unknown. And then the final stages of this battle comes from deep there, Jeff Sharp, but gets it stopped on the apex of the corner. More bumping and bashing in the same place from these two. And that was the move that got Jeff Sharp second place in pro standings. And then the battle here between Chris Hulse and Steve Everson. Let's enjoy this one last time. Down the back straight. Straight? Yeah, straight. Steve Everson does a good job have managed to cling on around the outside, and he gets the job done here. Steve Everson bails out to give himself a better line through here, but just takes a bit too much speed through there, does Mr. Everson, onto the grass. That allows Chris Hulse a drive up the inside. And that was it. It was an exciting couple of races in Pro and Am if you looked in the right places. But they did well. So wins for Ricky Worrell and Chris Hulse in respective classes of Pro and Am. Let's shimmy on back to the live stream. 'Tis I, Ugly Mug. And what I do need to do is quickly save the old replay, which I forgot to do last week, but I think some of the chaps have got it, so you know what? Round 9 sprint. That's probably the best way of naming it. Should probably turn the volume down a bit on the football, just in case that is ringing through the or is going on in the background for you. Oh, that's the replay saved then. Right, let's have a look and see if there is a session. Oh, it seems to be at some point in the stream where I turn into Sean Connery. And at this point, it's now. Oh, no, don't want to go into league sessions. I want to go to my leagues. Evolution Sim Racing. And yeah, the session is up. Into the Mustang I go. So yeah, let me know what you guys made of that race. Did you enjoy it? Are you a fan of the multi-class racing, or do you think it's better when everyone is all pitted in against each other in the same cars? I'll let you into a secret. There's no more multi-class for the rest of the season, so what you say is going to have very little bearing on what actually happens. But feedback is always appreciated. And whilst we're waiting for that to load in, obviously the big news coming well hot off the press today is the announcement that that rain is forecast, and it will be coming in March. So very exciting times. I say very exciting times. It's obviously going to be a case of everyone's going to be like, oh yeah, rain, and everybody's going to get into a track, slap on monsoon conditions, and realise they absolutely hate driving in the rain. And who can blame them? It's undoubtedly going to be tricky to master. It can be tricky to master just driving in the dry. So yeah. That is going to be coming in the next few weeks, though. Oh, and just in case you're interested, with 5 minutes to go, Jadon Sancho is coming on for Borussia Dortmund. Am I filling for time? Yes, I am. It's also 2-0 is the to Dortmund is the more exciting thing to probably comment on there. Oh, that's somebody going around. That is Steve Everson. Then what I need to do, I need to open up the overlay software, and then we can jump back in. Right, where do I want to go? Where are you? Live timing. There you are. Oh. Let's maximise that screen. Oh, that is somebody going around into the barriers. James Hurlo finds the barriers. Not that that's useful to you because you can't see that at the moment, but you will be able to momentarily. There we go then. Let's go over there. And let's just, for the sake of continuity, show you James Hurlo spaffing it into the barriers. His front bumper says, fuck that, I don't want anything to do with you. Oh, Dortmund have scored a third. Lovely stuff. Let's head back to live. Let's bring up a timing tower. There's Paul Nicholson. A nice looking livery. Was that the livery you will say wearing? It's probably not the way of putting it, but a nice looking livery nonetheless. Have I closed down Trading Paints? Why is that not loading it? Oh, hello. That is Martin Ruby up the inside. Ah, yeah, Trading Paints is not responding, so that is probably why something's going wrong with the livery. Paul Nicholson in the bottom left on the driver information is not... Wow, downloading. It's at minus 3,473%. I'm not all there with my percentages, but I know that's not right when you're looking for a figure between 0 and 100. So let's close Trading Paints and manually start it up. Right, let's remove the old driver information. Oh, and it's almost a fourth to Dortmund. Jadon Sancho almost getting on the score sheet there. But he doesn't, so it remains 3-0. Right, let's... Alright, we've got the session timer, so we've got about 7 minutes then before the second race commences. Second race is a feature race. It is 45 minutes long and features a mandatory pit stop. Tyres are not mandatory, but fuel is mandatory if you want to get to the end. Oh, that's someone going round and round. James Hurlo, by the looks of things, is just the tail end of that. Oh, there's someone. I've set it so it's automatically focuses on crashes. And it managed to. Well, that's the end of a crash, really. Let's see if we can capture the start of it. And here it is. Oh, he's gone his own way. And round he goes. Doesn't go to the barriers. But he's also gone off track again. Let's see what happened here. Oh, cuts that inside line, and around he goes, and a little kiss on the barrier that time. So if you're watching this and thinking, I can beat these guys, and let me tell you, you're in with a chance. Yeah, you can come and get involved. Evolution Sim Racing, you can see in the top right hand corner, evolutionsimracing.com. Head over there and you will find our Discord. You can then join our Discord and then you can get involved with races on a Friday night. We race every Friday night. Things kick off at 8 PM GMT/BST, depending on the time of year, UK time. So if you do want to come and get involved, please do. It's completely free of charge to enter. We have 3 to 4 championships a season. We base it on the iRacing calendar. So essentially there's a group of us that sit down. We look at what races iRacing have decided across all of the series. And we then decide week by week what we are going to race. So this week, for example, we are in the Sim Hub. I think it's Sim Hub. I can't remember. Could be Sim Hub. Sim Hub. Sim Hub. But yeah, Sim Hub. And we are, for the first time ever, doing a multi-class race with the Pro category. They're racing the Mustangs, and the AM category, they are racing the Toyota GR86s. I would have fallen into the Pro category for this race, so that tells you, well, it was the Mustang, so it was either stream and have a relaxing evening chatting to you lovely folk, or it was driving around in a Mustang hating life. So I made my decision, and that was sitting here and not there. But yeah, anyway, I've got myself sidetracked. But yeah, if you want to come and get involved, please do so. If you're struggling to find the website, even though it is appearing in the top right hand corner of the screen every 30 seconds, do let me know in the chat, and I can send you the old Discord invite if I can work out how. Now, generally, the practice session before each race does tend to involve a lot of pit stop entry practice. Oh, that is Dorado going around. Because generally we don't tend to practice pit stops during the week, or at least I don't tend to. I think 15 minutes is enough to nail that braking zone, regardless of how tricky the pit stop entry is. But you just need to ask Ricky Worrell what it's like going into the pit lane where you haven't practiced. And for the context there, if you weren't watching or haven't seen the highlights for it, Ricky Worrell, I believe, had about a 20-25 second lead at Road Atlanta. Nothing to be concerned about at all. On the entry to the pits, he'd managed to lose control and wedged himself between the barriers sideways like that. Yeah, it wasn't a good evening for Ricky. He didn't win that race. But yeah, practice your pit stops, people. It can literally give you race wins. Oh, that's the end of the game. Dortmund won 3-0. The result everybody has no doubt been waiting for there. Dan Slattery out and practicing. Track temperature will have increased. Let's take a look in just a second once I've updated the information. Weird intonation there. Let's do that, and now let's bring up the race information. We've got about 30 seconds to go. Now, it's going to be a rolling start as well, so I've maybe started this a bit earlier. So track temperature is apparently down by 4 degrees. Air temperature has also come down. I believe it was maybe up around 30 degrees for the first race. So usually there is a marked difference between the two races in terms of track temperature, but apparently not this time round. But yep, you can see us there. We are at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It's a track I personally quite like, but I know some people are not a fan of it. Make sure we are live. Indeed we are. So just waiting for the chaps to grid up at this point. And looking down on the grid as they do. Oh, interesting. So, the thing... track temperature is much hotter this week, according to Team 19 Racing's Jeff Sharp. So, that suggests that, once again, the overlays not quite updating as they should. I'm just going to start not trusting them. Or I'm just going to say what they say and not ponder. But what I was going to say is, under normal circumstances, for the second race, it is reverse grid based on championship position. And we have done that this evening. And reverse grid based on championship position for both categories means that the Toyota GR86s are leading the way. Now, let's take a look at the grid then. So in live, it does actually seem to do this correctly, I think. But we'll just, I'm just going to own it. Let's say that this is correct. I mean, I can see that Josh Morris is on pole position and Brian Dodd is in second place, so that's good enough for me. So, leading the way in the AM category is Josh Morris, the number 13 car, with Brian Dodd alongside him in second. Chris Palmer is then in third place with Travis Dorado in fourth. They make up the second row of the grid. Third row of the grid is made up of Paul Nicholson and Steve Everson, with Chris Hulse in seventh. He rounds out the AM category. No Axel Edwards in this one has decided not to take part. Team 19 Racing informs me that it is 30 degrees. Let's just go back to the race info and see what that says. It says it's 32 degrees on race info, so it's clearly talking a load of old shit. Back to the grid then, and let's take a look and see how the Pro category line up. That's Martin Rigby on pole position and in 8th overall, with James Hurlow alongside him. No, he's not. No, so Martin Rigby, well, he will be alongside him because of the way that they'll drop off the back from the GR86s. So yeah, Martin Rigby is alongside James Hurlow, despite what it looks like here. Dan Slattery is then in third place with Ricky Worrell alongside him, with Jamie Nicholson in fourth. Fifth, that is, and Jeff Sharp leading the way in the championship. He is then in 13th. Jeff Sharp looking very good, just in general, but for the championship, he is opening up a tidy little lead, second place in that first race. His main contender, Will Thomas, not racing tonight, has been in the chat. I believe Nextril is Will Thomas. Nextril, if you're not Will Thomas, do let me know and I'll apologise. Yeah, Will Thomas is his main championship rival at this point, and he's not racing, so Jeff Sharp opening up that gap, despite Ricky Worrell taking the win. Right, let's head on to the racing screen. And you can see quite the gap. Well, I say quite the gap. It's a 6.5 second gap that Martin Rigby is leaving to the GR86s. They will close them down, so it's going to be interesting stuff. And the pace car has pulled into the pit lane. Bit of a tricky pit lane entry here, so we'll keep an eye on that for the pit stops. And let's keep an eye on Josh Morris, the number 13 car, for when he goes. All on him at this point. And I tell you what, the Mustangs, I think, have already gone, going off the speed with which they are closing the gap. They're already... Well, look at them. This could be absolute carnage. Oh my god, it's going to be carnage. They're all over how have they survived this? That is brilliant driving all around. I know we've not finished yet, but that was... That was excellent stuff. We've got someone that spun to the infield. Martin Rigby, I think it was. It was Martin Rigby. So he's fallen from first place in category. Still got a couple of Mustangs picking their way through the order. That's James Hurlow. You can see that Josh Morris has dropped down to 7th at this point. 3rd in class. Oh, and he's into the back. Oh, James Hurlow did not like that he overtook him on the straight, but that has also taken out Steve Everson. So a little bit of chaos. I mean, that was kind of more like the chaos I was expecting to see down the main straight. Yeah, Josh Morris all the way out on one of the recovery roads at this point. Dan Slattery leading the way in overall and in class now at this point. Wow, what a chaotic opening first lap that was. Not ideal timing, but they somehow managed to get down the main straight all okay. These three, though, anyway, Chris Hulse and Steve Everson, as ever, close. They are side by side here. Well, starting to settle down a little bit. Well, I say a little bit. It's all go at the start, at the front of the Mustang class, the Pro class. We'll go and have a look and see what happened at the start there. In just a second, once I can work out where it all kicked off. Well, let's start then with the Mustangs, and you can see here, like the GRA 6s are sitting ducks, and size-wise, like this must have been a horrifying look for those in GRA 6s looking back to see the absolute onslaught of Mustangs. But they managed to get through largely unscathed. And Martin Rigby spun to the infield. See if I can find where that happened. I can't quite. There's so much being logged. Is that it? I think that might be it. Yep, so Martin Rigby in second at this point. But, yeah, just gets a bit too much on the power, and round he goes. And then things all went wrong after the back straight. Josh Morris just gets his braking point all wrong, goes into the back of James Hurlow, which then sends him into Steve Everson. They both have to cut across the grass. Something happened to Travis Dorado in amongst all of this as well. You can see bumpers flying all over the place up ahead, and yeah, Travis Dorado just runs a little bit wide there. And a close little battle there between Chris Hulse. And ooh, it was all over the place a bit there. This is the chaos, and you see Martin Rigby out wide there as well, but the chaos of multi-class racing. Don't worry about it, Josh. It happens to the best of us. I don't think there's any one of us on the grid that haven't missed a braking zone and gone into the back of someone. So yeah, don't worry too much about it. I tell you what, though, I cannot believe like it didn't end in chaos on the main straight. The way the pro category was steaming up behind everybody. Well, we're back to live then, and Ricky Worrell has now taken the lead. Let's see if we can find out where that all kicked up. Well, I say we'll keep on watching as Slattery looks around the outside of Ricky Worrell, who is now in the number 12 car, which is still not the number he should be in, but it is slowly getting close to the number he should be in. Let's have a look at the replay. So going down the main straight, and Slattery was closing him off and really pinching him against the wall. But Ricky had already got there. And up the inside he went. You can see that Mustang ahead of them, and they stayed side by side throughout this section. And Worrell says, "Give me room to Slattery." Make sure he stayed up the inside, but then Slattery, as we know, got back past him after the back straight. Let's go back to live, because I feel like this battle is still going to be raging on. And here it is. Perfect timing. Ricky Worrell looks to the inside again. Ricky Worrell, not one of those known for holding station and being patient. He's missed the apex a bit there, and he's gone very slow. Maybe acknowledging that he missed the apex and went into the side of Slattery there, but what he has done is let Jamie Nicholson up the inside as well, which he would not have wanted to do. Jeff Sharp going to be licking his chops as he watches all of this unfold. He was well over a second at the start of the lap, but halfway through the lap he is now, well, only... coming down towards half a second behind these two. Looking very close there. Looks like Chris Hulse has also passed Martin Rigby. Martin Rigby may have had a moment. But Dan Slattery now has a 1.7 second lead. And that could be crucial, especially if Worrell continues to attack the back end of Jamie Nicholson, because if Nicholson's looking backwards at what he's doing, he is not focusing on going forwards. Let's have a look then and see how things are going. So Chris Palmer leading the way in the AM category. He is 2.7 seconds ahead of Chris Hulse in the battle of the Chris's for Chris Prime. I think Chris Hulse has firmly got that title at the moment. Chris Hulse is the reigning champion in AM category. Oh, and Martin Rigby is in the pit lane. It was probably a bit too early to be pitting for your pit stop at this point. So maybe to repair some damage. Now, looks like Ricky Worrell may just be aware of the fact that Slattery has got a bit of a lead there, so he's not really attacking Jamie Nicholson at this point. Travis Dorado is looking close behind Brian Dodd here. They come through that zippy little chicane. Is closing that gap. It's a little bit of the slipstream. So that is one to keep an eye on. Ricky Worrell right up the back of Jamie Nicholson, and they all pull to the inside because you can see just up ahead in the Castrol machine, Dan Slattery has now just lapped James Hurlow after that early incident with Josh Morris. And Ricky Worrell does look to the inside there and gets the job done very nicely. Oh, and music to Josh Levy's ears. Steve Everson has crashed, is the message I'm getting. Let's have a look at that replay. On his own. And, oh, it's a spin. Around he goes. Doesn't lose any positions with that, but he does lose a chunk of time. Where is Steve Everson? He's currently third in class. Wasn't too far behind Chris Hulse, but he's further behind him now. That's, well, you can see the gap there. Chris Hulse in the distance, down towards turn 1. And let's take a look at this replay of Ricky Worrell making his move on Jamie Nicholson. Pulls out to the inside. Jamie Nicholson doesn't fight it, perhaps recognising that Worrell's got the pace potentially to close Slattery back down. Lovely jubbly. And we've got a bit of a three-way battle appearing then for 4th place in the AM standings. It's between Brian Dodd, Travis Dorado and Paul Nicholson. Brian Dodd only 1.4 seconds off the back of Steve Everson after Everson's spin. And you can see there, just on screen, that is Ricky Worrell. He is right up behind Dan Slattery again. Let's go and have a look at this three-way battle. Three-way battle here, and it's looking like a four-way battle in the pro category for the lead. Oh, and Ricky Worrell has fallen down the order a little bit there. Ricky Worrell's crashed. That you can see on the timing tower. Meanwhile, we've got Paul Nicholson up the inside of Travis Dorado. Can't quite get the move done there. But absolute disaster for Ricky Worrell. And back to the pits he goes. Let's... oh, that was someone going out wide, and they're side by side through the kink. Travis Dorado gets through past Brian Dodd. Paul Nicholson gets past Brian Dodd. Brian Dodd pulls back into the slipstreams, trying to get a bit of a boost. Oh. Paul Nicholson looking up the inside. Is he going to get it stopped? He does. But that allows Brian Dodd up the inside. Through this section they go side by side. Looks great when they do that. Oh, and that's Paul Nicholson out wide, and he falls back down into 9th position overall, 6th position in class. Well, that four-way battle I was talking about for the lead involved Ricky Worrell, but it doesn't anymore. Let's see what happened. Oh. Well, I'm not sure what happened there. But something went wrong. The question is... well, the question is, well, we'll take a look on the board with Ricky Worrell. Just driving along. The intel is that he he scratched his leg and hit the kill switch. That is, well, we were talking earlier about Ricky Worrell's inability to make a pit stop without getting the pit entry so wrong that he throws away a 25-second lead. In this instance, though, well, yeah, he's, yeah, absolutely useless from Worrell there. Oh, that's Paul Nicholson looking up the inside of Brian Dodd. This battle raging on. Well, it's a shame that Ricky Worrell is, well, in hitting the kill switch has killed his race, because he is usually great to watch because, as I said earlier, no thought for the overall race. He's continuously looking for the move and the overtake. That's a nice little looking... Oh, it was looking like a nice move there from Paul Nicholson. Didn't quite commit to it, though. I'll tell you what. Jeff Sharp. His heart must have been in his mouth. We'll have a quick look at it from Jeff's view. So Ricky Worrell 2 cars ahead of us at this point. And you see into the barriers he flies. And that was... very close. And typically I've moved away just as Paul Nicholson gets past Brian Dodd down the main straight. That is Paul Nicholson now up to 5th place in class. Chris Palmer continues to lead the way, but Chris Hulse has been slowly chipping away at that lead, and he is now just 0.7 of a second behind. Now let's go and have a look and see what's going on at the lead of the Pro category. And that is Slattery, Nicholson and Sharp. Sharp living a blessed life after just about squeezing past Ricky Worrell's stricken machine. Oh, and Chris Hulse on the outside of Chris Palmer here as they go down to turn 1. Will Palmer get it stopped? He does get it stopped, but does go in deep, which will allow Chris Hulse to stay really close through these opening 4 corners. Hulse keeping a wider line through there, so he should be able to keep a bit more pace through. And is he side by side? Not quite, I don't think. Pulls in, but just 0.2 of a second between them. Palmer remains defensive. These two got a tidy 15-second lead on Steve Everson after Steve Everson's spin earlier in the race. And fighting hard, these two. I think something may have happened. Maybe Jeff Sharp attacking Jamie Nicholson, but they've fallen about 1.5 seconds off the back of Dan Slattery now. No positions changed by the looks of things, but battling may well have slowed them down there. Chris Palmer taking a somewhat creative line there, cutting the grass a little bit. And that could explain the wide line here. He may have got a slowdown there. I'm not too sure what the slowdown is like at that point in the track, but he did run it wide through that last corner, and he is, well, he's on the normal racing line whilst Chris Hulse is up his inside. Oh, we've got Brian Dodd flagging up as having an incident. Chris Palmer not willing to let the lead of the AM category die here. Chris Hulse looking to get a second win on the night, which would, given Josh Levy not taking part and Steve Everson finishing behind him, would give him a bit of a grip on the lead for this race. But Chris Palmer is up his inside again. really not willing to let it dry. The tenacity here of Chris Palmer, despite Chris Hulse closing him down, not willing to let the lead go. Whilst we're on a more settled piece of track, this is what happened to Brian Dodd, spinning on the penultimate corner. Back to the live action then, and Chris Palmer holding on to the lead. We now have James Hurlow apparently having crashed. Palmer goes defensive. There is space on the inside for Chris Hulse if he wants to risk going alongside the wall, but he doesn't, so he pulls to the outside line. Will he be later on the brakes? He won't be. Can't get round the outside there, but he's so close on the back of Chris Palmer. On board with the Chris of the Hulse variety here. Down that back straight they go. Let's have a look and see what happened to James Hurlow. Into the first corner and, well, gets his braking point a little bit wrong and goes in deep. Now, the question is, as we do come up towards the pit window now, what are these two going to do? Oh, Palmer a little bit slow through that penultimate corner. And Hulse is right on the back of him. I imagine Palmer is going to keep that tight up against the wall. He does. How is this one going to pan out? Palmer has been good on the brakes, which has really been something that has stopped Hulse from getting through. And once again, he's late on the brakes there, and he actually gives himself a little bit of space there. Does Chris Palmer. That gap opens up to the better part of a second there. Gives us an opportunity to go and have a look and see what's going on at the front of the Pro category, and not much has changed. The same order and similar gaps. Now we know from the first race that Jeff Sharp seems to have the pace on Jamie Nicholson. So as it stands, you'd imagine Jeff Sharp will be happy where he is. Close enough to Dan Slattery to keep in touch. Dan Slattery doesn't seem to have the pace. You'd say that Jeff Sharp probably does have the pace of these three, so he'll be waiting for that pit stop window. He'll either, depending on what the other two do, will look to extend his stint or potentially box early to put him into some clean air. I'll bring up the track map, see what clean air looks like, and there is a fair old chunk of it. I'm not sure whereabouts Jeff would come out. Unfortunately, he's got Chris Palmer and Chris Hulse close together, but then they are different categories, so it's not going to be difficult for him to get past. So where there are cars grouped together, they are invariably in the GR86s. So he has got a chunk of space that he can come out into if he should wish to pit early. And generally, and I don't know if this is actually the way you should do it, but I know if I am battling against somebody coming up to the pit stop window and they're faster than me, I really want to be boxing at the same time as them, slash a lap either side to try and cover them off getting the under or overcut. Already, you can only really cover off the undercut, because to cover off the overcut you'd need to see the future. to know when they're going to box. Anyway, I'm going to stop waffling on about that horseshit and go and have a look and see what Paul Nicholson's done. Into the first corner. Battling away with Trasrado, but not battling any longer. Just loses the rear end, spins to the infield. Where is our Paul Nicholson? Paul Nicholson currently in 5th overall by the looks of things. Not overall, 5th in class by the looks of things. But yeah, he's fallen off the back of Travis Dorado. Looking down from the blimp, because I do love the blimp. Slattery a little bit wide through that first left-hander. You can see there the gaps. Nice and tight, everyone just holding station until we get to the pit stops, which must be... we must almost be there. Let's switch away to a better camera. Speaking of pit stops, let's have a look and see. There's a pit strategy box, and well, speaking of pit strategies, here he is then. Jeff Sharp boxing at the same time as Dan Slattery. It is a tricky pit entry here, so practicing it will have been prudent. Not sure how they have done there. But you can see Jeff Sharp has boxed. Dan Slattery is boxed. Jeff should have a bit of space up front. We've got James Hurlow in the background there, but he is a lap down. All about hitting your markers here. Dan Slattery angling his car very much outwards, potentially to get better drive out of the pit box, not having to steer back into the lane. And I tell you what, Jeff Sharp has got him. He's got him in the pits. I say he's got him in the pits. They are side by side. How is this going to pan out? So it's not that first line. It is the second line, and I'm not sure... well, one of them... I'm not sure what's gone on there. Jeff Sharp was faster in the pits. Looked like he was going to get past him, but Slattery was just faster down the pit lane. Now, was Jeff being conservative? Not operating with a pit limiter? Was Dan Slattery not operating with a pit limiter? The pit limiter doesn't tend to maximise your speed. You're usually a kilometre an hour or so, a little bit slower than the pit speed limit. But yeah, interesting stuff there. But they have boxed, and Jamie Nicholson is now in the pits. He has boxed. You can see him driving down the pit lane now. Now, if we take a look at the track map, Dan Slattery, the DS, the green background with Jeff Sharp, the black background, they are coming through the final sector, or just about to enter the final sector of the course. Jamie Nicholson, we are watching on screen. So how are these two going to go? Chris Hulse has jumped Chris Palmer. What's gone on there? That is out on track. They are still battling away. And that is Chris Palmer into the pits. Chris Hulse carries on. Now let's take a look at Dan Slattery. Well, Dan Slattery is back in the pits. I feel he may have got penalised for speeding in the pit lane. Where's Jamie Nicholson? There is Jamie Nicholson. He's still not at that line. It's the green cone line that you want to look for. And Jeff Sharp is through. And he is through by quite the margin. Jeff Sharp has the lead. And he has it by over 3 seconds. Nearly over 3 seconds. Just under 3 seconds. Well, things have all changed around. Is Dan Slattery? Yeah, well, there he is, coming out of the pits. I think he may have got a penalty for speeding in the pit lane. is my inkling there. So he is now third in class. He's actually fourth overall, but Chris Hulse is yet to pit. Not that Chris Hulse would be overly a concern for him, considering he's in a slower car. Now the question is, Chris Palmer, he's just come out of the pits. Chris Hulse, is he going to box this lap? Let's take a look. If he is, he's going to peel out to the right-hand side, and he does. Take a look at this pit entry. Oh, it looks a lot wider from outside the cars. When you're in the cars, this thing feels narrow as anything. Onto the brakes he goes. Onto the pit speed limiter he goes. And this is going to be very interesting because we cannot see his pit crew. So let's go and have a look elsewhere. There's on board with Jamie Nicholson. You can see Jeff Sharp in the distance. And as said earlier, Jeff Sharp had the pace on Jamie Nicholson in the first race, so you'd expect that gap to open up, and it is opening up. Now, where's Chris Palmer in all of this? Down at the main straight he goes. Chris Hulse, where are you? Leaving your pit box. That's where Chris Hulse is. This is going to be close. They were obviously nose to tail before the pit stops. It's not a huge drag down to the line. But Chris Palmer has got past him. But it's going to be close on the exit. So close, in fact, that they come out side by side. But Chris Palmer does maintain the lead. I think he went in behind Chris Hulse, but Chris Hulse is immediately going to try and strike while the iron's hot. Palmer not willing to let that happen. Are they going to be side by side through the kink? They are, and Chris Hulse has to tuck in. And that'll work out well for Chris Palmer because he's going to have better momentum down the back straight. Well, that was an exciting array of pit stops there, and we will bring up the pit information in the top left-hand corner. And you can see there, everyone that's still running has now pitted either on lap 16, 17 or 18 in, as is Chris Hulse and Brian Dodd's cases. James Taylor pitted on lap 15. Let me put that away and take a look at the pit times. And, well, there's the key one. If we look at the top of that tower, Jeff Sharp. Oh, that is Chris Palmer up the inside of... No, that's Chris Hulse up the inside of Chris Palmer. Did Chris Palmer make a mistake? He surely did. We'll have a look. And we'll go back to live very quickly. Oh, yeah, just spins out wide. Let's go back out to live because Chris Palmer may well look to make a move down. Oh, he's not quite close enough, but Chris Hulse has gone defensive, which will slow him up a bit, but Chris Palmer's gone a little bit wide through turn one. Anyway, the point I was making, take a look at those pit stop times. Jeff Sharp, 15.5 seconds to Jamie Nicholson. Jamie Nicholson, 17.8 seconds. That is the reason that Jeff Sharp has come out so far ahead of him. Palmer forcing Hulse defensive again. Is he going to try and go all the way around the outside here? Was thinking about it, but couldn't quite get the job done. So at this point, only 10 minutes, well, 10 and a half minutes off the end of this race. And first place in the AM category is anyone's guess between these two. I have provided us with some cracking racing. They are. I mean, Jeff Sharp has very much checked out from the battle with Jamie Nicholson. Nearly 5 seconds up the road now at this point, so setting some fast times there. We'll take a look at the best times as well. Ricky Worrell, fastest lap points for him in the pro standings. Chris Hulse, the fastest lap in the AM standings, and that is Chris Palmer not letting him get away with it. Up the inside into turn 1. Delays his turn in slightly, which compromises Chris Hulse's turn in. I think we can probably get rid of the pit strategy window at this point. We can also probably get rid of the Chris Hulse immediately looking to come back at Chris Palmer. This one is really going to come down to the final lap, I think. These two very much on their own at the moment. Steve Everson 14 seconds behind them. He would have been a lot closer to this battle if it wasn't for that spin. But these two have been setting some good times, so he perhaps wouldn't have closed the gap anyway, but he'll be frustrated with himself, and he will be rooting for Chris Palmer in the context of the championship. Chris Palmer hasn't taken part in all of the events so far this year, which is why he's probably a little bit in a false position on the table. He's gone very defensive here as they head down to turn 1. Chris Hulse going to try around the outside again, but it hasn't worked so far, and God, squirming under braking. I'll tell you what, it's a good job we've got these two battling away, because there's no other close battles on track, really. I'll just be having to say even more boring stuff than I usually do. There's a little look to the inside. There's Chris Palmer, but nothing there. Meanwhile, Brian Dodd has apparently been on a bit of a safari. Sends it in deep there. Not quite a safari. That might have been over-egging it slightly. Chris Palmer really, Chris Hulse, sorry, really trying to gain every advantage he can through that final section of the track. It'll be interesting to see. Chris Palmer is leaving more than a car's width up the inside there, and it'll be interesting to see whether Hulse does look to, in the latter stages, utilise that space. If it were I think I'd continue doing what he's doing, switch to the outside, make like he's not thinking at all about that inside line, but on the final lap or with a couple of laps to go, maybe exploit the fact that Chris Palmer isn't completely closing the door and going right up to the wall. He's leaving just over a car's width there, and that could well be a Chris Hulse-sized car width. We will see if that comes about, but we're only in the last 3 or 4 laps at this point. Oh, sorry if you got some muffling there. I twizzled round to get my can and kicked the mic stand with my foot, because that's generally how you kick things. So as we enter these final stages, we'll just take a quick look at the big winners and losers of the race. Jeff Sharp, biggest winner, up 12 positions. Obviously, that does include the whatchamacallits, the incidents. The incidents, the incidents. Yeah, this AM category, they're just incidents. No, the overtaking of the AM category. So not quite as good as that suggests, but has Jeff been targeted again this week? Very nearly. I tell you what. I'll give you an idea of how close he was to being targeted. Take a look at this. This was Ricky Worrell absolutely spaffing it into the barriers. He accidentally hit the kill switch. And this is Jeff Sharp, who very nearly gets taken out. But that is the closest. I say the closest. Dan Slattery also had a bit of a swipe at him in the first race. But he has managed to stay out of the wars for the most part, has Jeff Sharp. And at this point, he is, well, where are we? Let's have a look at the interval. He is 5.5 seconds, just under, ahead of Jamie Nicholson, looking like he's cruising to victory at this point. No, it wasn't suicide. He apparently, whilst scratching his leg, accidentally hit the kill switch. Which, classic Ricky Worrell, really. Also, yes, yeah, scratching. Wow, yeah. I've just realised what scratching his leg might sound like, and I can't remember whether I set this as an 18+ stream, so we'll leave it there. But oh, I tell you what, Brian. No, that's. I thought Brian Dobb was getting close behind P9. He was, but P9 is James Hurlow, and James Hurlow is in a Mustang, so he's just driving away from him. Oh, Chris Palmer, despite the fact that Chris Hulse has closed down and done his best to get past, Chris Palmer is now maintaining a pace that's just meaning Chris Hulse is being kept at arm's length. Yeah. Yeah, mentally well short of that. My trading paints wasn't working earlier, and I think it said it was when it gives the percentage of how much it's loading, it was like at minus 3,760%, and I feel like we're at about minus 3,760% from the mental age of 18. And oh no, it's not quite ended in tears, but Chris Palmer didn't defend. Chris Hulse went for it, and I think it just put Chris Palmer off. And Palmer is now 0.8 of a second back. There will still be a couple of laps after this one, I think. There should be. It'll be close, I think. But let's have a look and see what happened there. So he comes from a long way back, gets hard on the brakes, but he does get it. Wow, had Chris Palmer not gone all the way wide, it would have been a struggle for them both to stay on track without contact. But it's a ballsy move there from Chris Hulse, the sort of move that he needs to make if he wants to get his second successive AM championship. Question is, will Chris Palmer, sorry, have the pace to get back on him? And I think he does. He's already taken 0.2 of a second out of him, but he's not got a lot of time to close that gap and then get back past. You can tell he's pushing hard though, out wide there. And he's closed the gap by another 0.3 of a second. Just through that complex. Very nicely done, Chris Palmer. Hulse looking to defend something that Palmer maybe wishes he did the lap prior coming up to this corner. Meanwhile, in the pro category, the gap between Jeff Sharp and Jamie Nicholson has started to come down. It's now just over 4.5 seconds. But that's likely Jeff Sharp just taking it easy for the last couple of laps. Palmer looking up the inside. Can't do anything there, really. Maybe could have waited and just stayed close through this section and got the slipstream down into the first corner. This is where we find out that it was actually the last lap. I don't think it is, though. It should be white flag. Where is... obviously. Could really do with a... is there a flag? Oh, there is a flag. Is there... Oh, no, that's just... that's just the nationality flag. Chris Palmer dives towards the inside. Let's get rid of the nationality flag. Oh, no, and Chris Palmer's gone round whilst I was looking at the other screen. And that ends that one. Jeff Sharp comes across the line to take first place. A good night for him, where his main championship rival has not been racing. He takes a first and a second. Let's have a quick look at Chris Palmer spinning it as they come into the first corner. And just a bit too much curb, and round he goes. Chris Hulse then will take his second win, provided he doesn't do anything daft in the final section of the track. Into the final complex now. I now have a cat that's wanting to come and say hello. You coming up then? This is a cat. If you were here at the start of the stream, that was making like he hadn't been fed in weeks. And in fairness, he looks like he hasn't been fed in weeks, but that is just the design. The breed, I suppose. As you can see, very little hair. That is Chris Hulse taking the win, though. I'm going to stop waffling on about a bloody cat. If you could avoid standing on the keyboard, that would be ideal. So yeah, let's take a look then at the results. So, a good race there from Jeff Sharp. He has done very nicely out tonight. As said, can you... do you mind rubbing your nose and cheeks against the microphone? So yeah, good night for Jeff Sharp. First place in the feature race and second place in the sprint. Also, I think he got... No, Ricky Worrell got the fastest lap in this one. So Worrell will get a couple more points there. Jamie Nicholson in second place. Nicely done from him. Dan Slattery, there he was going through the shot there. Managed to cock up his pit stop. I don't have the information to hand. Maybe one of our racers who are in the chat can let me know. But I believe Dan Slattery got a drive-through penalty for speeding in the pit lane. And then Chris Hulse takes his second win of the evening in AM category. Fourth place overall, which is a stellar job. Chris Palmer was then in second. We saw him, unfortunately, spin it going on to the final lap, but another good performance from him. He is fifth overall and second in class. Steve Everson was then in third. He had a spin early on in the race. And yeah, we've had it confirmed, speeding on pit exit. I suspect then that he may have done what I've done on that pit lane and thought that first white line was the pit line. Or the pit lane, yeah, you know, the line where you can start driving fast again. But yeah, not his finest moment, but he does still get third overall. We then had Travis Dorado fourth in class with Paul Nicholson fifth in class. James Hurlow, he finished fourth in class with Brian Dodd sixth in class. Ricky Worrell, we saw what happened there. Team 19 Racing, I have got no idea how you avoided that one. It looked like it was going to be certain death for you. Yeah, having managed to hit the kill switch for his rig down the back straight whilst giving his leg a good old scratch, Ricky Worrell manages to retire 19 laps down. Martin Rigby got caught up in issues early doors, and he is 22 laps down. And Josh Morris, unfortunately, went into the back of James Hurlow, which in turn caused Steve Everson a little bit of trouble. Just missed his braking point there, but he retired 26 laps from the end. And, yep, quote from Jeff Sharp in Team 19 Racing, "I was fully clenched." Well, let's take a quick look then and see some of those key moments in the race. And I almost forgot about this. Take a look at this, because let me find a decent camera angle to really show the... Get off my hand, cat. I'm trying to click on things and you keep on nuzzling it. So yeah, just take a look at this for the start of the race. The Mustangs marauding after the GR86s. A terrifying experience in the GR86s, I'm sure. They are charging out. How this did not end in a massive accident, I don't know. James Hurlow had to get hard on the brakes there as Chris Hulse pulled out to the right. They all managed to get through okay. Little bit of bumping through there. Martin Rigby got away in second, but spun it on the exit of turn 2. We then had some issues a little bit further on, which I think I might as well just let it play and go to who I want to look at. There is Steve Everson. So here is where Josh Morris unfortunately just misses braking point, looking at the inside of Steve Everson, and had nowhere to go, into the back of James Hurlow, who in turn takes out Steve Everson. They cut across the grass. That disrupted the progress in their race. And had Martin Rigby going off track. Oh, that's like... I scrolled down so far, and this is... Let's see if I can actually find something that's happened that we haven't just watched. Steve Everson, this is his spin, all on his own. And you can see not far behind that battle, or not far behind Chris Hulse, but just on the turn-in, you could see the car dip as he braked, and that unsettled the car and sent him spinning round. Here is the Ricky Worrell crash. Onto the back straight, and as a scratch of the leg, there's a kill switch. There is the barrier, and there, God, that was so close. Sure, if we can have a look at that. Where's a let's do cockpit view. From Jeff Sharp's perspective. He lifts a bit. Tell me why you did that, Jeff. He was coming across and you lifted. But manages to survive, and as we obviously know, goes on to take the race lead, and then subsequent victory. Brian Dodd had an accident here, and I've accidentally put this on slow motion. So we're going to see a slow motion of Brian Dodd's spin here. Pure panic is the word from Team 19's Jeff Sharp. I don't blame you. It when I saw Ricky fly back onto the track, I was like, "Oh no, this is gonna end in tears." James Hurlow also getting into strife. Oh, just about drained that can. Getting into strife, just missing his braking point for turn 1. Just going to randomly select a bit of battling between Chris Hulse and Chris Palmer, because there was some excellent battling from these two for a large chunk of this race. And this was the way it kind of went most times. Palmer going very defensive down the main straight, but Hulse couldn't find his way around the outside. See if I can find the excitement that was Chris Palmer and Chris Hulse leaving the pits, or rather Chris Hulse leaving the pits. Here it is. Let's have a look at this, because this was very close. They were that close all the way throughout, and then this is how they exited the pits. Let's blimp it up a bit. Side by side again. Palmer just about managing to take the lead, but Hulse straight away up the inside. No time wasted. And they were neck and neck, but Hulse realising through the chicane there he was never going to be the winner. A little bit more of this battle. Hulse going out towards the outside, trying to get around the outside, but Palmer, his defence was very solid. And it looked like Palmer could well have been on for the win, but then this happened. Chris Hulse had got past him. This was going on to their final lap, and just clips that inside curb a bit too much. Round he goes. And let's take a look at the checkered flag. I say take a look at the checkered flag. That is Jeff Sharp rounding the final turn for the final time. Takes the victory. Hearty congratulations to him. A well-managed race. Sat in 3rd place. Could see that Dan Slattery was not getting away from Jamie Nicholson, who was in turn just ahead of Jeff Sharp. Bided his time, waited for the pit stop window, knew he had the pace. His pit crew also had the pace, as they managed to complete a pit stop that was well over 2 seconds quicker than Jamie Nicholson's. Dan Slattery got the penalty for speeding in the pit lanes, and from that point it was all about managing the gap for Jeff Sharp. And he did so with aplomb, got up to 5.5 seconds. It ended roughly 4.5 seconds. Did very well. And that will do wonders for his championship lead. He already was going in overall. I think it was 37 points ahead in overall standings and 30 points ahead in the pro standings. That gap is going to have increased, so very nicely done to Jeff Sharp. Now let us head on back to what am I looking for? That's what I'm looking for. 'Tis I, Lord Pendlebury, in a bigger image. But yeah, anyway, that I think just about concludes our coverage for tonight's racing. So thank you very much for your company, everybody that has contributed to the chat. Very much appreciated. If you are watching and you are not a member of Evolution Sim Racing and you would like to come and get involved, then please do so. Visit www.evolutionsimracing.com and you can join us there. We have a Discord link, and yeah, you'll come in here and yeah, you can get involved on a Friday night, 8 p.m. GMT/BST, depending on what time of the year it is. So yeah, come along. There's some reasons. I always get it wrong. There's some reasons just there. Read through those, and if that sounds good to you, then you're welcome to join. Just don't be a knob. Here's the general rule there. No problem at all, Jeff. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. And yeah, we will probably mark a lot. Thanks. It's like you've been drinking as much as I have, and going off the way you spun on the final turn. No, first turn of the final lap. Maybe you were. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, everybody, and yeah, we'll probably see you next week.